Murderer. The word hit me like a slap. I froze, my hands still soaked in soapy water. Then someone shoved me hard from behind. My face plunged into the icy basin. Laughter erupted around me like a wildfire. I tried to pull up, gasping, but a hand, huge and merciless, pressed down on the back of my neck. I kicked, flailed, clawed at their arms, but the pressure only grew stronger. The laughter faded. My lungs burned. Was this it? Maybe it's better this way. Maybe death will finally be peace. I let my eyes close. Bitch! My head was yanked back by the hair. My skull slammed onto the concrete floor with a sickening crack. I collapsed, coughing, water pouring from my nose, eyes, throat. Relax, it was just a joke, the she-wolf who led the attack smirked. We're just playing around. I glared at her with what little strength I had left. I have grown used to this treatment, and from experience, it is always best to stay down and never react. For if I do, it will only get worse. And if I don't, they will simply grow bored and hopefully leave me to finish my chores with the least amount of bruises. My name is Alysia, and I am the lowest-ranking Omega of the Blood Moon Pack. Though my father is a Beta, and I am born with Beta blood, my family has always hated me and were more than happy to keep me as a quiet and obedient Omega to push around. It all started when I was 8 years old, and my sister accused me of poisoning our mother in front of the entire pack. It wasn't true. I loved our mother, and I was so young. I was only 8. I couldn't have possibly done such a thing, but no matter what I did, what I said, or how much I pleaded, no one believed me. Everyone believed her. No one would ever doubt the words of my beautiful and utterly brilliant sister Sarah. She was everyone's favorite. The star. The one that could do no wrong, and I was the opposite. With that, and without even holding a fair trial on a mere child of 8, I was stripped of my status and rank and reduced to the lowest of the low, an Omega. They say that was mercy. They say I should have died instead. But instead, they were supposedly kind by keeping me alive and becoming a slave for everyone. When I am sure my tormentors are gone, leaving me alone in the laundry room, I finally pull myself from the cold water, dripping wet and shivering. My eyes on the ticking clock, I quickly finish my chores and rush home before I am late. My family absolutely hates it when I am late, often punishing me for every second that I am not there. And when it comes to cooking their meals, especially dinner, my Beta father and perfect sister Sarah are incredibly strict and mean, for they can never miss a meal. A strong and powerful family should never go hungry. Along my way home, I pass by the training grounds, and although I am rushing, I cannot help but pause for a moment. It is hard to continue as I watch the young wolves sparring, learning, and laughing, living. Though I would not consider myself as a bitter individual, I cannot help but feel the jealousy and bitterness swell inside me at the sight of them. I had wanted for so long to be part of them, to be like them. I wanted to learn, to laugh, to know more than just chores and get beaten when I don't do them right. But my father has made it clear a long time ago that someone like me doesn't deserve to have an education. I didn't even deserve to live. With my head down, hoping to go unnoticed, I quicken my pace as I remember that I had to make dinner still. Unfortunately, I am always noticed, and a group of young wolves run towards me, close enough that they can spit and push me down on the ground. Look, the monster is here! Pitiful. I take it all without a sound and wait for them to finish releasing their hatred. Be careful, or she'll kill you, like she did her own mother. Finally, when they're done, I run home, blinking away tears. Sadly, when I get there and hurry to prepare dinner, I am late by a minute, and my father is already waiting with his feet impatiently kicking the floor. I prepare for the worst, bracing myself for a punch or a kick, but he only glares at me with pure hatred. This shocks me, my body frozen. What's going on? I would usually be bleeding by now. It continued again during dinner, when Sarah suddenly stood from her seat and pulled my hair before forcing my face down on her plate of hot food. "You forgot to put in my favorite sauce? You incompetent fool!" She screams, pushing my face harder into the steaming soup. I expected my father to help her with it, as he usually does, or maybe ignore me, but he surprises me even more when he turns to Sarah dismissively. "Enough," he shouts back at her. "Stop it already." My face almost burned red. I held on to my cheek and blinked back in surprise. What's happening? He has never done this before. Does he finally love me again? Does he finally see how bad it's been for me? I shouldn't have kept my hopes up as he clicks his tongue in displeasure, like that same disgust and hate in his eyes as he stared down at me. Tomorrow the pack is hosting its annual mating ball. He turns to both Sarah and I, but focuses on me with even more hate than usual. You will serve as a maid, and to show the visiting packs that we are above everyone, with good omegas, you will not be seen with visible injuries. Of course, I should have known. With the most powerful alphas attending, our pack can't afford for our reputation to be tarnished by letting outsiders see how omegas are treated. It wasn't about me, it was about them. It was about how they look to others. Ugh! Sarah growls in disapproval. We really should have killed you instead of being such a pain for this family. Pushing the bowl of soup down the table, making a mess, she slams her shoulder on my chest before leaving the table with a scoff. Uncaring that I have fallen on the floor, the soup all around me, my father puts his chin up in disgust. Clean this up, and make sure you are presentable in the morning. I blinked up at him. Yes, father. He raises his hand threateningly. What was that? What did you call me? My lips quivered as I looked down, bowing low submissively. Sir, I meant to say sir. On my hands and knees, wet from the laundry and the soup and the spit while crusty with dirt, I clean up the kitchen and the dining room, and only when everything is spotless do I return to my small windowless room in the basement. Lying on my bed, I do not even have the strength to check on my new injuries from today. The pain in my body pulses with every breath I take. Years of malnutrition and constant beatings have stripped me of my werewolf healing abilities. My wounds take forever to heal, if they have a chance to. Most days they are always replaced with more painful ones. Don't cry, Molly, my wolf, whispers to me. Hang in there, only a few more days, okay? Thank you, Molly, I sniffled, wiping away the tears. Thank you for reminding me. It was a very difficult day, and I almost forgot. I know. But it's okay. I got you. She promises softly, her presence comforting. You're not alone. Molly has chosen me when I was 13, many years before any other werewolf does, which is 18. I always wondered why, but I do not question it, for she is all I had in this world. Perhaps it is the universe's way of compensating for my miserable life. If it wasn't for her, her voice, her presence, and unwavering support, I do not think I would have survived this long. Tomorrow you turn 18, Alysia. She happily cooed at me. You know what that means, right? You're free to leave. You're free from all of them. According to pack law, at 18 I will be allowed to leave my pack. 10 years it took to get to this moment, and I will not wait a moment longer. I have no idea where we will go, but it doesn't matter. Nothing is worse than a home, a family, and a life built on lies and violence and fear. I whisper back to her, feeling determined and feeling a little bit stronger for the next day. I just have to get through tomorrow, that's all. And after I finish my duties at the ball, we will run, Molly. We will run and never come back. We will never be beaten into submission again. Never again. She swears back, excitement for our freedom, our life ahead, obvious in her tone. We can do this. Cheer up, Alysia. Molly's voice rang in my head, light and full of hope. We're so close to freedom. Just make it through today. I smiled faintly. I'll need your help, Molly. Watch everything, patrols, weak spots, exits. I've got you, she promised, eyes wide open. Before my father or Sarah could bark out any orders, I made their breakfast and slipped out the door, heading to the field where a line of gaunt, hollow-eyed omegas were already forming. As I approached, an older she-wolf snarled at me. We all kept our heads down as she shoved us roughly into formation. Listen up, weaklings, she barked. Tonight's the mating ball, and for the first time, the alphas of the strongest packs are attending. Everything must be perfect. If anything goes wrong, you'll go a full week without food. Got it? We already barely ate, but they were ready to starve us some more. She stopped walking to jab a finger into my chest. I said, Do you understand, Omega? Or are you deaf as well as stupid? She screamed at my face, her spit flying into my eye, but I don't dare wipe it away. Yes, ma'am. I am the lowest of the low when it comes to omegas, which is why I am often the most targeted of the group. She stared at us, at me like I was filthy and disgusting and unworthy. It is okay because by tonight I will be gone. Wildly and forcefully, she tosses buckets and mops and brooms at me. I want these floors scrubbed clean, I want the walls reflecting my face, and I want the decorations to scream wealth. Everything has to be perfect. Tonight is the night the better members of the pack get to meet their mates. And tonight is the night that we welcome the most powerful packs, including a very powerful alpha and other strong werewolves to come, so I expect everything to be the best it can be, no exemptions. Again, much like last night, I find myself on my hands and knees. It's scrubbing floors and walls and chairs and tables with buckets of water that I personally have to carry back and forth from the nearby river. It is heavy, and with no food in my system, while still recovering from my injuries, I barely have the strength to get on my knees to scrub, but I do this. I do this while I keep an eye out. Nothing will stop me from escaping. Every 30 minutes, the patrol passes by the river. Molly tells me, mirroring what I was already looking at. For 30 minutes, we have a chance to run if we pass through there. There is a corner unguarded as well. I glance towards the path that leads to the forest, just close enough by the river. If we pass by in the dark, no one will see us. Molly and I memorized every detail as I mopped the floors, making everything glimmer and sparkle. Truly, the mating ball will be beautiful tonight. It was horrible work to get there, but I still managed to do well, despite everything. That is until the floor I just cleaned is deliberately stepped on by an unusually muddy shoe, followed by more dirty shoes by a group of girls coming from the forest. Disheartened that my work is ruined, a laugh makes me look up from my work, and I am not at all surprised to find my sister Sarah. Sarah towered over me and sneered. "Look, everyone, the murderer is here." Her group of friends, all high-ranking warriors and mated to even more powerful men, laughed at me mockingly. "I can't believe you let her live. She's a curse." "I know." Sarah clicks her tongue with disappointment. "I really believe she should be killed for what she did to our mother. She has no right to be kept alive or be a maid. She certainly shouldn't be anywhere near this sacred mating ball. What if the powerful alpha sees her? That's just pitiful." I lower my head, my anger, my sadness, and the tears of frustration coming to the surface, but she grabs me by the neck and forces me to look up. "What? You're crying?" She roughly shook me, her nails digging into my neck painfully. "You have no right to cry. You killed my mother, you little freak. You are worthless, pathetic, and disgusting. I hate you so much I want to kill you." Just as I think she might actually do it, her hand tightening so painfully that my vision starts to darken, I hear him. Blake, the alpha's son. "Sarah, stop! What are you doing?" He deserves the stares running down to where we were. I look away, feeling unworthy of his presence. Blake is incredibly handsome, with beautiful blue eyes, with thick, luscious hair that is always styled to perfection. He is strong and tall and brave, and most especially kind. That's why I like him. He wasn't like the others. Sometimes I think he might even care for me like I care for him. Every woman in the pack admired him as well. In fact, he is so well loved that no one can look away when he is near. But the one that loves him the most is my sister. Sarah has had an even bigger crush than I did with him. Since we were children, all she could talk about was Blake. She believes they're mates. She believes she will be the next Luna. My heart jumps when Blake takes me away from Sarah, his hold on my arm gentle and soft, and so unlike how I have been treated in the past by the others. "I can't believe you, Sarah." He shook his head in disappointment. "Alysia is your sister, and she is a member of this pack, my pack. No one should be treated this way. No one." Sarah's eyes darkened with jealousy and hatred, her eyes focused on his hand that held me. "Blake, what are you saying? Why are you touching her? She's a murderer. She's a curse. She took my mother from me. How could you be like this?" "I am simply defending a member of my pack. I am the future alpha, Sarah. Every life is important to me." As if to prove his point, Blake faces me and reaches for my face, his fingers tracing the line of tears that fell down my cheeks before wiping it away. "The alpha of the strongest pack is arriving soon. They keep talking about that. This powerful alpha that's coming. The other Omegas couldn't stop talking about it all morning, and even now when I look at Sarah and her friends, they all couldn't help but whisper about the powerful alpha. Blake pulls me towards him even more, interrupting my thoughts with butterflies as I feel his strong body pressed against mine protectively. Now is not the time to have conflict. You need to stop this, Sarah, or I will be taking action. Sarah takes a step back, clearly offended and hurt by his words, but when she turned to look at me, I already knew that I was going to pay for this. I knew she wouldn't let this go. So when she turns and walks away, I head in the opposite direction. I am close to the river again when I am stopped by a hand on my shoulder. I immediately think of the worst, my sister with her army of friends, but I am surprised to find Blake holding me gently instead. You want to escape, don't you? He whispers, bringing me against the back of the house and pushing me into the wall, out of sight from everyone. You're planning to leave tonight. My eyes widened in shock and my chest squeezed. Caught. I've been caught. He's going to tell on me, and he's going to stop my escape. No, it can't be. Alysia, relax. Blake takes me by the chin and forces me to look up at him. Don't worry, I'm here to help. My insides twist once more. Help me? Why would you help me? What would you get from this? Because I know it hasn't been easy for you. He leans in close enough that I could smell the soap he uses and the mint in his breath. We were friends once, remember? When we younger? It was true. Before the death of my mother, Blake and I were really close. We spent all our time together and we were inseparable. Sometimes we would even whisper about the possibility that we would be mates in the future. I know you. Blake insists, his blue eyes staring down at me with this familiarity of our past that is so painful yet calming at the same time. And I know it's been hard. I would even say that at one point I thought you and would have been mates. We used to talk about that a lot, but I know you want to leave more than anything, so let me help you. How? I all but whispered, breathless and filled with hope. This is my only chance. I have no choice but to trust him and our old friendship. I know when the guards change shifts and where the perfect place or time is to escape. He tells me, his genuine voice and expression only building the hope in my chest more. Please, trust me. For old time's sake, I can help you escape. I nod and take the hand he offered me. Okay. It has been such a long time since I have last felt any warmth from anyone, and more so from someone I secretly have a crush on. If things were different, maybe Blake and I would have been together. Blake caresses the side of my face and smiles. Just like old times, right? Right, I agreed. He leans against the wall but continues to stay close. Then, let's plan it out, like old times. The mating ball is in full swing. The venue is perfectly clean and gorgeously decorated. Nothing has ever looked this good, and everyone seems to be having a good time. Everyone except the Omegas forced into the walls at the back and serving everyone. But I didn't care, at least not anymore. Not after my talk with Blake. All I could think about was my escape, my freedom, and my future. My mind was in bliss, yet all around me there was only one topic of discussion that kept pulling me away from my plans of escape. He's still not here. The elegantly dressed partygoers whispered among themselves. The powerful Alpha is supposed to come, but he's not here yet. Even the Omegas standing beside me were talking about the same thing. They said he is the strongest that's ever lived. Handsome too, can you imagine? More handsome than Blake? Another Omega asked, her eyelashes fluttering towards Blake, standing in the center of the room and looking like he was glowing in the night. I don't think that's possible. No one can be more handsome than Blake. Blake is perfect. He is what an alpha should be, and whoever he falls in love with is the luckiest girl in the world. You never know. Molly teased, knowing I am almost on my knees at the sight of my childhood crush. This powerful alpha might be our mate. I rolled my eyes at her. Impossible, Molly. A powerful alpha can't have us as a mate. Look at us. Don't say that. Molly chastises, just because life doesn't feel good right now doesn't mean we are not meant for more. But I don't believe her. I'm serious. Even Blake knows a future between us is impossible. What more from that alpha everyone is talking about? He hasn't found his mate. That's why he's coming. An Omega tells another, can you imagine being mates with a man like that? Life would change. They murmured quietly to themselves. I kept my eye forward, mostly looking at Blake and waiting for his signal. All around him are beautifully and extravagantly dressed women from all over the country, flaunting and flirting with him. They batted their eyes and touched their chests so he would look down at their breasts. Blake, as always, is polite and kind, but from time to time he would look back at me and smile, making me feel more special than I felt. As the night went on, the powerful alpha continued not to show. I started to feel restless. Blake had vanished from the ball and time was running out. Several times I felt the eyes of my father and Sarah on me, as if waiting for me to move and run away. Maybe Blake betrayed me. Maybe he told them. Maybe I won't be able to escape. I clutched the photo of my mother inside my pocket, my eyes closed. If this is my last, I hoped and prayed that she would forgive me. I truly didn't know that the tea was poisoned. It wasn't me. I couldn't do something like that, but there is truly no way to prove otherwise. Sarah made sure of that. Still, maybe if I do escape, one day when I become strong enough and brave enough, I will return here and uncover the truth. Letting go of my mother's photo, I felt around in my pocket for the other essentials that I kept for my escape. Some loose change, the only thing I had, and a loaf of bread that I took from the buffet table in front of me. Just when I was starting to lose hope and I was doing my rounds, moving around the ballroom with a tray of food, a hand took me by the waist. At first I thought it was my father, or worse, my sister, but when I looked up it was only Blake, smiling down at me. "Are you ready?" he whispers quietly. "Everything is set." Around us, the crowd only seemed to think that he was taking food from me. I could only nod, afraid to speak. With his blue eyes sparkling and wide, he masterfully maneuvers us towards a less crowded part of the venue, and with a quick glance helps me to a hidden balcony that covered by thick curtains. Finally alone, he takes the tray from my hand and holds me before bringing me towards the edge of the balcony. I've cleared the patrols in this area, but we will have to jump down. I looked below us to the forest, and although we weren't as high as I thought we were, it was still a big jump. My lips part, ready to tell him this when he leans down and carries me in his arms like a bride. Blake grins down at me. "I told you I got you." While my heart leaps in my chest at our close proximity, Molly stirs in the back of my mind and stays quiet, but her uncertainty is clear. She did not like this. She did not like this at all. "It's okay. He's going to help us," I told her, hoping to calm her down as her panic was starting to affect me. "Hold on tight." Blake whispers, making me wrap my arms around him tighter as he stands on the railings of the balcony and jumps down. The air blows all around us and my chest squeezes as we fall, but thankfully, and I shouldn't have ever doubted him, he lands on both feet easily with a soft laugh. Surprisingly, I find myself laughing too. "You scared me. Never be scared of me. We're friends." Something by the way he looked at me made it feel like we were more than that, but I don't let myself dwell. I was leaving after all, safely on the ground. He lets me walk on my own and with our hands clasped together tightly. We started on the path to my escape by hiding behind trees and shadows with the full moon shining down on us. We quietly avoided patrols and other guards, and in some cases, lovers escaping for a heated moment. We moved slowly so as to not attract attention, and it must have been an hour until we reached the pack's borders, and by then, his hold on my hand tightened just a little more. We both stared at where the border of his territory ended, and I looked up at him. "Blake?" "Alysia," he says, sounding very quiet. Something was in the air. I could smell it, and it made Molly even more anxious and uncertain. "Hurry," she urged, her emotions becoming too much to ignore. "Just hurry. It doesn't feel right, Alysia. Please trust me. Something's wrong." Okay. Trusting her over anyone else, I forced myself to smile at Blake and bow my head low in thanks. "Thank you, old friend. Thank you for helping me." But Blake didn't smile back at me, at least not like before. He stared at me now with a look I couldn't decipher, and it frightened me. It frightened me, for Blake has always glowed with this kindness, but under the moonlight, there only seemed to be darkness in him. When he finally smiled, it sent a chill down my spine. "I've changed my mind. I think I want to keep you for myself." I pull away from him in panic, but our hands are still intertwined, and he yanks me towards him until he is literally breathing down on me. "Blake, what are you doing? Stop, please." Blake only smirked devilishly down at me, and pressed me towards a tree where he almost grinded himself against me, making me feel his hardened length in his pants. But why should I do that? Weren't we supposed to be mates? Isn't that your promise all those years? Shouldn't I be able to have you? We're friends, I cried out, panic surging through my veins as I felt his other hand reaching down for my pants and the other pulling up my shirt. Blake, no! He laughs at me and starts licking down my throat. I have to admit, I did feel sorry for you, but I couldn't help but remember how much I wanted you. Imagine this. You locked in my room while everyone thought you ran away. I could have you without anyone knowing. I could have you for life, just like now. I struggled against him, fighting his arms that pinned me to the tree while his hand roamed freely, pulling my clothes and ripping my buttons. No matter how hard I fought, the years of malnourishment and abuse had left me weak, and I was no match for an alpha. He easily overpowers me, forcing me to the ground while undoing his own clothes, preparing to take me right here and now. Blake senses that he has won, that I am tired and giving up, and right when he's about to release himself from his pants, I use all of my strength to kick him in the groin. He screams and rolls away, collapsing in pain. Run! Molly screams into my mind. Run and don't look back. He's chasing you. I get back on my feet, feeling my knees shaking, but I don't let that stop me. I don't hesitate. I don't think. I only ran as fast as I could, terrified as I started to hear Blake running after me. There's nowhere you can go where I will not find you, Alysia, he taunted, running right behind me. I'm coming. I'm close. I almost got you. Fear is the only thing that keeps me going. Having never left the pack before, I have no idea where I am headed, but I did not care. I was too frightened to stop. The taste of freedom comes soon, but I shouldn't have hoped, for a sharp pain on my ankle makes me stop and gasp. Looking down, I have stepped into a hunter's trap that has completely punctured my foot, making me bleed profusely. Molly? What's happening? I cried out as I suddenly felt very dizzy and weak. Why do I feel so weak all of a sudden? Molly is in hysterics. Wolfsbane! It's Wolfsbane! You're caught in a Wolfsbane trap. Just then, an overwhelming scent, overpowering everything else, fills the air and burns my senses. Left and right and up and down did not make sense to me as my vision blurred and Molly's frantic shouts started to fade in the background, all while I feel footsteps coming after me. The last thing I remember before losing consciousness was her desperate cry, "Alysia!" My eyes opened, and for a moment, all I could see was darkness and what appeared to be stone. The moment is gone, because flashes of the last few hours come back to me, and I remember the mating ball, Blake attacking me and running away only to get caught in a trap. Oh no. I sit up in panic and look around in fear, realizing that I am in a dark, dimly lit dungeon. Despair clenches at my heart and my throat. Had I been captured again? Did Blake catch up to me? Did he do what he promised to do? Am I back in that hellish place again? No, I can't. My arms immediately wrap around me, hugging myself tight as I start to shake with panic. Through all this, I almost didn't notice my wolf continuously trying to comfort me. "Alysia, it's okay," Molly reassures softly in my mind. "Don't panic. Just stay calm. We're not back there. Look, see, your wound has been treated." I look down at my feet, carefully covered in bandages and healing ointments. She's right. This couldn't possibly be Blood Moon Pack. They would never heal us, she pointed out. That's something they would never do, so we're not there. We're not taken by Blake or your father. The tightness in my chest ceases just a little. Thank you, Molly. I just never want to go back there. And we never will. She comforted me, knowing everything that we've been through. Just then, the steel cell door creaks open, making me jump up and pressed against the corner, utterly terrified once more. I cowered away, preparing for the worst, but a torchlight shines upon those that entered the cell, and I do not recognize them. They weren't from my old pack, and they smelled completely different. Relief washes over me instantly. I might not know where I am and what pack territory I stumbled into, but at least it wasn't the Blood Moon Pack. At least it wasn't Blake and my father. Rogue. The man in front states in a cold but not at all condescending tone, a tone I have long been accustomed to. Come. 2 hands grabbed me by the shoulder and guided me out of the cell. Where are you taking me? I found myself asking, watching us go through several other cells and dark corridors. The man leading turns back to glance at me for a moment. To the interrogation room. Interrogation room. Wait, that means. They want to know where we came from. Molly tells me quickly as we look around. Yet again, my insides twist. They can't know we're from the Blood Moon Pack. If they find out, they'll return us to my father. I bite my lower lip as we make it to the interrogation room, where the man in front sits himself down in front, surrounded by other werewolves. The ones holding me sit me across from them, a mere table keeping us apart. The door closes behind me, and the questions start coming. Who are you? What's your name? Where did you come from? Why did you cross pack territory? On and on it went, questions followed by more questions that wouldn't stop coming. Tell me where you came from. What is your name? Are you a member of another pack? Which pack is it? Are you a rogue? What business do you have here? They kept their distance from me, but I can tell they are losing patience as I keep my mouth shut with my head lowered in submission. I didn't dare say a word even when they pressed and pushed. If they find out the truth, if they find out who I am and where I came from, they'll present me to my tormentors and I will likely face even more punishment than I usually get. Tell us who you are. The man leading the interrogation stood and hovered above me. It is obvious that he is of a higher rank than everyone else. I could feel his commanding presence choking at my throat. You trespassed into our territory in the dead of night. Tell me why. I wish I could say something, but no words came. All I knew was, I would die before they send me back there. I would rather die than endure that life once more. This is your final chance. Tell me. The man demanded, through gritted teeth. And as much as I was afraid of him and his pack, I was more afraid of where I came from, of my father, of Blake and my sister. So I kept my mouth shut and only lowered my head more. With a final defeated sigh, the man sitting across from me stands up and crosses his arms. All right. If you don't want to talk, you give me no choice but to call our alpha and let him handle you. I feel my heart clench painfully in my chest at the mention of alphas. I do not have good experiences with them. I am almost sure this won't be much different. I warn you, he is not forgiving when it comes to trespassers, and he hates rogues the most. Something in his tone made me believe I was going to die soon. But he's right. To them, I'm just a rogue, and their alpha has every right to kill me because of it. They leave me alone in the interrogation room, with nothing but a small light bulb lighting my surroundings. I keep my head down while playing with my hands that rested on my knees. The wait for the alpha felt endless, with every second stretched into an eternity. Waiting felt worse than it should, knowing an alpha is coming with a punishment or death, no doubt in my future. On one hand, I wish he never comes, but then I am almost ready to simply accept my fate and get it over with. At least that's what I tell myself before I start approaching footsteps. It is heavy, purposeful, and even with just a few steps I could tell his power. My heart beat quicker. My breathing grew shallow. Nothing is going to happen. Molly whispers, sounding different, as if distracted by something. I have a feeling that not all alphas are the same. Some might be nice, some might have a better future for us. I highly doubt that. At this point, hoping and praying for something better than the truth is just foolish. The door opens and the alpha steps into the room. I turned and froze. Standing at an imposing height, the alpha is the embodiment of raw power and effortless dominance. Muscles ripple beneath his bronze every movement exuding an unshakable confidence that demands obedience. His face is a sculpted masterpiece. Sharp, angular cheekbones, a strong square jawline that speaks of unspeakable danger. His piercing eyes, a striking shade of molten gold, hold an intensity that could see through anyone's soul. They glow faintly, even under the dark room, reflecting the beast within. Thick, dark brows frame them, often furrowed in contemplation or narrowed in warning, his full lips perfectly shaped yet curved into cruel frowns. A faint shadow of stubble dusts his jaw, adding to the rugged, untamed appeal that sets him apart from mere men. His raven black hair, slightly tousled yet effortlessly perfect, falls just past his ears. But it wasn't just his beauty that made me stop and stare. No, it is because this handsome man, this powerful being, is my mate. In an instant, all my fear and uncertainty vanished, replaced by hope and joy and wonder. My vision blurs with unshed tears, utterly happy. This was fate's greatest gift. After all that pain and suffering, my mate is finally here. Molly lets out a howl of joy, a sound she has never made before. This was it. From this moment on, our nightmare is finally over, or so we think. Damon's POV. Damon, you're 30 years old. My mother, Juliana, tells me during breakfast, her tone deceptively light. You know how the elders are already hoping not only to choose a mate, but to have your own pups. You have neither. She means well. Both my parents do, and apart from this one topic, I have a very good relationship with them. They were worried. Everyone is. At 30 years old, I am honestly overdue for a mate. The truth is, I refuse to enter a loveless union for political gain. The mere thought of being bound to someone I didn't even know or care about suffocates me. I simply won't be able to take it, and I fear I will never love anyone unless they are my mate. My fated mate. I've been waiting for her since my wolf came, but she has yet to appear. Still, my duties loom over my head, always waiting and always demanding. I am Damon, the alpha of the Crescent Moon Pack. And as alpha, I have to protect not only my pack but my bloodline and title. So I understand. I understand the worry and the demands and the wish that you can secure the next generation of leadership, but I also don't want to shortcut this. I want my fated mate and no one else. Listen to your mother, Damon. My father, the former alpha, chastises me, staring at me across the breakfast table. The annual mating ball is happening tonight. You should go. I scoff, pushing away my plate, my appetite for breakfast gone with the topic. No. Damon, you are an amazing alpha. No one questions that. You have done good things for us and our pack, but you have to remember that part of your duty is to find a suitable mate. My mother says in a soft and understanding tone. I know you do not like to be forced into something you do not want, but the reality is you have run out of time. Go to the mating ball tonight. Find your mate. Start your family. And if I don't? I questioned, staring hard at the coffee in front of me with a gaze that could shatter glass. Then you give us no choice but to give you an ultimatum, my father announces, throwing a folder in front of me. These are women that we have been looking into for a political marriage with you. If you do not go tonight to the mating ball and choose a mate from there, then we will choose someone for you. I stare down at the folder, seeing pictures of women from different packs with a list of their bloodlines like they were trying to sign up for a job instead of a mate. It turns my stomach and the measly breakfast I ate. Strangers. These were strangers. They would shackle me to a stranger if I didn't go choose my own? That isn't right. I don't want this, I say with a shake of my head. Unfortunately, this isn't about what you want. My father shoots me a sharp but understanding expression. It was a loon of a man that has gone through the same thing before. This is what the pack needs, and that goes above anything you could want. Choose or we will choose for you. I swallowed, angry, confused, and a little too cornered for a man of my position. Fine. If suffering through a tasteless ball with even more tasteless women is what I have to do to avoid a loveless bond with a stranger, then I will grit my teeth and endure it, for a night. All I have to do is go, right? Throughout the day, I dread it. I dread going to the mating ball, especially when it is hosted at the Blood Moon Pack, where the most annoying high-ranking werewolves in existence are. No one is as stuck up as them, and I can only imagine what the others will be like. It will be a very long night. You are being stubborn, my wolf muttered as we made our way to the mating ball. It will not be so bad. You will see. I let out a huff. You know why. This is hopeless. I know it, and you know it. She will not be in the mating ball. We will only get hounded by hungry she-wolves that know nothing about love. They only want power. He falls silent after that, knowing the truth of my words. Though his instincts want nothing more than to find our mate, he also knows that being forced into an empty, unfeeling bond with someone that isn't our mate will only forever keep us lost without a true connection. A forced bond without true love. Just as I was about to continue on with my complaints about tonight, my gamma rushed over to me, interrupting my thoughts with urgent news. Alpha! He bows low, his expression tight with the news he brings. A rogue has been captured near the border. Yes, this is exactly what we needed. An excuse. A valid excuse to skip that dreaded ball. Temporarily at least, but still an excuse. Relief washes over me and I actually find myself smiling. I'll handle it. My Gamma hesitates, his eyes widening. Are you sure, Alpha? Quite sure. I was already making my way to the dungeons. Concern washes over his face. But the mating ball? And your parents? I wave him away dismissively. I said I'll handle this. The pack safety comes first. A little too enthusiastically, I enter the dungeons, passing through cells filled with criminals, rogues, and trespassers, heading for the interrogation room at the back. Except a scent was in the air and my wolf starts pacing and pacing in my head, making my chest tight and my breathing heavy. When I stepped into the room, I found the reason why. A rogue stares back at me and I take in every detail of her. Dark, tangled hair falls past her shoulders, her delicate frame tense and frail, malnourished and obviously badly treated. Her soft, blue, submissive eyes framed by thick lashes, locked onto mine with a mixture of worry, fear, and something else, something unspoken. Despite her unkempt and battered appearance, she radiates a beauty that cannot be put into words. She was perfect. A powerful jolt shot through me and a surge of happiness, utter happiness and warmth goes through me. Mate. My wolf howls in excitement, except I wasn't excited. I was horrified. No, this couldn't be happening. She's my mate? A rogue? My vision darkens, memories of my sister's murder slamming into me like a painful tidal wave. She was brutally killed by rogues, and now I was mated to one. Fury surged through me. Instinctively and out of pure hatred, I opened my mouth to reject her. I, Damon, Alpha of the Crescent Moon Pack, reject you. No! My wolf roars in defiance before I can finish the rejection, wrestling control of my body and stopping my words in my throat. I refuse. I will not let you do this to us. I try to fight him. I try to regain control, but I can't. I simply can't. Consumed with much too many emotions than I can handle, I find myself walking away and leaving her. For the first time in my life, I do not know what to do. Pain. That's what it felt like to meet my fated mate, and for the first words he would say to me to be a rejection. Though he never finished his sentence because he left, I understood it for what it was, a rejection. And the blow was suffocating as it was heartbreaking. My life has been a nightmare, and I had always believed that finding my mate would be a turning point somehow, but instead it was met with even more despair and horror. Tears fell from my eyes before I could understand what was happening, and I found myself curling up in the corner, shaking and crying uncontrollably. Even Molly is eerily silent. Molly, please. I begged, seeking comfort and reassurance. She refuses to respond, nursing her own broken heart, for she was rejected too, and the pain of our mate's rejection gnawed at us, an agonizing pain that neither of us had the strength or the will to fight. Hours go by, and I am taken from the interrogation room by silent guards that surprisingly didn't mistreat me. I expected the worst. I expected them to treat me the way I have always been treated, but surpassingly, they wordlessly bring me back to my cold, damp, and lifeless cell that mirrored my existence. They continue to surprise me by giving me food and water at regular intervals while never laying a hand on me. As pitiful as it sounds, this is the best treatment I've ever had in my life, at least compared to how it was in the Blood Moon Pack. Here, I was able to eat until I was truly full. I was able to drink as much water as I am able without anyone stopping me. How ironic that the best I've ever been treated is in a pack's dungeon. I was even given a comfortable mattress to lay down on, and as the hours went on, I battled with my emotions of abandonment or rejection, but also of the fact that I was incredibly comfortable for the first time. Just before another day went by, footsteps echoed through the quiet halls, my cell apparently separate from all the rest. I didn't bother to lift my head up, feeling nothing for the first time. The man that interrogated me opens the cell door. Stand. His deep voice commands, cutting through the aching silence. Shivering and trembling, I obeyed, getting up with shaky legs and following him. My body shook uncontrollably, trying to understand what was going to happen next. Was I going to die? Was he taking me to my execution? My heart pounded against my ribs, a dull but familiar throb of fear and despair mixing with defeat. The long hallway that we walked felt endless, making my mind spiral with thoughts that I couldn't control. Would he kill me himself? Would it be swift and painful, or will they make me suffer? Or worse, does he plan to do more to be before that? Would he touch me like Blake did? I had barely escaped one hell. I truly didn't have the mental capacity to take even more humiliation before I died. Strangely, the man leads me out of the dungeon. Did the Aloha want a public execution instead? Did my own mate want to do it in front of everyone? I let out a shaky breath. Fine. Maybe death was a form of release. At least this way we wouldn't have to suffer anymore. Molly, I whispered softly defeatedly. We tried our best to escape. Maybe this is just our fate. I'm sorry. But she doesn't respond. There is only silence. I knew she was exhausted as well. I'm sorry, Molly, I repeated quietly. I'm sorry for our life. We continued to walk in silence with the moon above us shining down on us. To my surprise, he stops me in front of a heavy wooden door. The man pushed it open, revealing what looked like a storage room, dimly lit and barely furnished and filled with many dusty boxes. But that wasn't all, because he was there too. My breath caught in my throat when I saw him. Damon, my mate, my beautiful, handsome, and strong mate that didn't want me. Damon stood with his arms crossed, his expression unreadable. The glow of the moon cast sharp shadows across his face, highlighting the strength of his jaw, the cold calculation in his piercing gaze. He regarded me for a long moment before speaking, his voice void of warmth. From now on, you will live here as a servant. I stiffened, the weight of his words settling deep in my chest. A servant. My mate was condemning me to servitude, just like my old pact did, rather than acknowledging our bond. The rejection wasn't spoken aloud, but it was there, unspoken and suffocating. Just reject me, please, I whispered, my voice barely above a breath as I lifted my chin and forced myself to meet his gaze. Make it official. Put an end to this painful bond. Release me from this. His eyes darkened, a flicker of something dangerous flashing across his face, hinting of the monster, of the powerful beast lurking beneath the surface. Before I could react, he moved. In an instant, his hand was around my throat, pinning me against the wooden shelves behind me. My pulse roared in my ears, my hands flying to his wrist, but his grip was firm, unyielding, and warm. A mate's touch, cruel yet comforting at the same time. You have no say in this, he hissed, his voice low and lethal and final, cutting through the air with every word spoken. You will obey, rogue! The disgust in his eyes made me freeze and gasp. No, he didn't understand, and he can never understand. No, wait. I wasn't a rogue. But I can't tell him the truth. He might send me back to the Blood Moon Pack, and that would be an even worse fate than this. I have made a promise never to return there, and I will keep it no matter what. A gasp leaves my lips, my fingers digging into his wrist as I struggle to breathe. The pain of his rejection was nothing compared to the weight of his dominance pressing against me, demanding submission. My vision blurred slightly, and I spasmed and coughed. For a moment, I thought I saw something flicker in his expression. Hesitation, maybe even regret. But just as quickly as it appeared, it was gone, replaced by the cold, ruthless alpha once more. He released me abruptly, and I collapsed to the floor, coughing as I gulped in air. My throat ached, my entire body shaking from both fear and the unrelenting pain of rejection. But I still refused to look away. Your duties begin at dawn, he said, his voice devoid of emotion. You will work, and you will obey. Step out of line, and you will regret it. With that, he turned and walked away, leaving me alone in the dimly lit room. The moment the door shut behind him, my composure shattered completely. I curled into myself, silent sobs racking my body. This was not the fate I had dreamed of. This was not the mate bond I had longed for. Yet here I was about to live the same life that I tried to escape. Don't be afraid. A kind and soft voice spoke from behind me. The woman carried herself with grace, her presence commanding yet gentle. Her dark hair was streaked with silver, and wisdom from her years showing in her eyes. She studied me for a moment, then smiled, the warmth in it, something I hadn't seen in years. I hadn't seen ever. I'm Juliana, she quietly introduces, sounding afraid to startle me. I'm the former Luna, Damon's mother. The former Luna? I swallowed hard, unsure of what to say. This woman, the highest-ranking female in the pack, was standing before me with kindness in her eyes. And then, there is also this motherly energy from her that I have never experienced before, which my heart pulled towards. You don't have to be afraid, she continued, as if sensing my wariness and hesitancy to speak. Damon is struggling. He has waited too long for his mate. He doesn't know how to handle this. Again, I couldn't find the words to say to her. He waited so long, yet he quickly rejected me like I was nothing to him. My heart clenched. Juliana sighed, nodding as if she understood. I understand how difficult this all might be for you. I don't blame you, but I ask that you be patient with him. Patient? Is that all I need? It seems life only keeps giving me hope, only to throw it back to my face. She knelt beside me then, her expression softening. This life hasn't been kind to you, has it? How I wish it wasn't so obvious, but the answer was written all over me. The bruises, the scars, the hollowness in my eyes. Juliana didn't press for a response. Instead, she simply reached out and squeezed my hand. You have to trust me when I say this. Damon placed you in the kitchen to keep you safe. You will see that what he did is for you, she explained, holding me so gently and tenderly despite not even knowing who I am. Many in the pack will have strong opinions about your presence, especially because of the mystery surrounding you. Despite everything, I saw how genuine she was and felt grateful for it. Her warmth, her care, it's something I haven't felt in a very long time. Thank you, I whispered, managing at least that. Oh, no thanks needed. She cooed, giving me a small smile while helping me up. Come, you need a bath and some fresh clothes. Her kindness stunned me. It had been so long since someone looked at me like I was more than a burden and a curse. I didn't know how to react. A lump formed in my throat, and for a brief moment I felt like crying, but I managed to hold it in for her sake. If you need anything, you only need to ask for Beta Charles. He's the man that took you here, she explained to me, gesturing to the door. That man was a beta? He's a good person, and I am sure he will help you with whatever you need. I could only nod as she went on to tell me who to trust and who to look for. Before she left, she smiled at me once more. Of course, if you need me, I'll be there to help you too. Okay? Okay, I choked out. Even after she left, I sat there, staring at the door in disbelief. I had expected death. Instead, I had been given a place to stay and a job. Was this really happening? It might not be a big difference from my life before, but at least these people are kind and gentle. A soft knock interrupted my thoughts. The door creaked open, revealing an older woman with a kind face and round glasses perched on her nose. She was an Omega, but she did not look like any of the Omegas in the Blood Moon pack. She is obviously taken care of too. Hello, I'm Martha, she introduced herself. I'm the head maid. Come with me. I hesitated, a reflex of my past, before shaking my head and following her through the halls of the pack house. It was nothing like the dungeons, where cold stone and damp air suffocated me. Here, warmth radiated from the walls, the scent of fresh bread and burning wood filling my nose. It felt lived in, like a home. I wasn't quite used to it. Martha quietly led me to a small but comfortable room. This is where you'll live. I blinked at the sight before me. A bed. A real bed, with thick blankets neatly tucked in. A wooden dresser stood in the corner, and to my utter shock, an attached bathroom. My chest tightened, but for a different reason completely. For this can't be real. Was I allowed to touch any of it? Was I even allowed to be here? A part of me feels like she must be tricking me, that this is a joke, that I will be punished for even being here. Martha must have sensed my confusion because she placed a gentle hand on my shoulder. It's yours, I swallowed hard. My hands trembled as I stepped inside, half expecting someone to yell at me, to rip it all away. But nothing happened. The room remained mine. No shouting or punishment came. Martha handed me a bundle of clothes. Take your time. There's warm water. Warm water. How is that even possible? I couldn't remember the last time I had bathed without icy streams or a filthy basin in the small windowless basement in the Blood Moon pack. Nodding weakly, I stepped into the bathroom and closed the door. For the first time in years, I stood in front of a mirror and truly saw myself. My breath caught in my throat, sunken eyes, deep with exhaustion, hollow cheeks, faded bruises on my collarbone, fresh ones on my wrists. I turned slightly, pulling up my tattered shirt, revealing the scars that marred my back. Thin white lines, some old, some new, carved across my skin like a painful story written in my flesh. I traced my ribs with a trembling hand. I was too thin, too broken. No one would ever want a body like this, a mate like this. No wonder he rejected me. No wonder I wasn't enough. I wasn't worthy of an alpha. I wasn't worthy of someone like Damon. "Molly?" I called out hesitantly. Her voice was barely a whisper in my mind. At least we're under the same roof as our mate now. Maybe there's a chance. I closed my eyes, gripping the edge of the sink. Damon. I refused to get my hopes up, not when he looked at me with such loathing. But could I really stay here? Could I really endure his hatred for me? It didn't matter. For now, I will survive. And maybe, just maybe, I would learn what it means to live. Martha had said that this was mine. That I could take my time, but I still cautiously took a bath, not daring to touch any of the products that looked too expensive. Nor did I bathe too long, fearing that the warm water wasn't truly for me. I don't want to get punished for it. It is hard to shake the thought that my father or Sarah might be lurking in the darkness, waiting for me to make a mistake, waiting for the perfect moment to hurt me all over again. Still, it is hard to ignore how the warm water felt on my body, slowly washing the dirt and grime accumulated over the years. Even Molly couldn't ignore how good it all felt. In the Blood Moon pack, I wasn't allowed to be clean. They purposely kept me in tattered clothes and almost always filthy to humiliate and embarrass me, putting me in my place as the lowest-ranking Omega. After making sure I left the bathroom clean, the products untouched, I walked into the room to find a black dress laid out for me on the bed. Yet again, I was surprised. It looked brand new. It looked beautiful. It looked like it wasn't meant for me. For the first time in 18 years, I allowed myself to touch and marvel at the beautiful piece of clothing. Though it was a little loose on me, it was still perfect and wonderful, and I couldn't stop looking at it. But I couldn't dwell. I was a servant, after all. After tidying myself up, I rushed to meet Juliana in the kitchen. When Juliana saw me, I swear there was almost a flash of something in her face, and I thought she might hug me, but she respected my space and smiled warmly. "There you are," she says, sounding happy as she leads me to the kitchen. "Let me teach you how to make dinner. Are you okay with that?" I bowed in submission to her, but offered my own smile. Yes, truthfully, I was nervous. I do not know if this warm treatment will last, so I do not want to make any mistakes. Despite that, I quickly learned how patient and kind she is. She taught me all while making small talk, gradually helping me relax as we made dinner together. It is wrong to compare, but I doubt any other Luna would cook with an Omega or Rogue with this kind of kindness and patience. Halfway into making dinner, as hard as I tried to concentrate, it was proving to be difficult. I couldn't shake the feeling of an intense gaze burning into my back. It followed me everywhere, careful and purposeful. Damon, without looking, I know it's him. I can feel it, and it made me incredibly uneasy. It wasn't until he felt the intense eyes leaving me could I find the ability to breathe again. The mate bond was already pulling us together, creating this bond that I couldn't quite ignore. It pulled at my insides, calling to him, only to have no answer. I suddenly remember the way he looked at me. He was so angry, hateful, and disgusted. It is not something I expected my mate to feel about me. The thought of his rejection, the way he already said it, but stopped, it ate away at everything good, leaving only sadness. My eyes stung with tears that I tried to blink away. He should reject me. He deserves more. I just hope he does it soon before it is too late. He has been looking for his mate for a very long time. Juliana quietly tells me when she sees me struggling to keep it together. We even had a politician match for him when he found you. He doesn't want me. I find myself telling her without shattering inside, though it is hard to keep the bitterness from my voice. He will likely choose the political match, but it's okay. At least he didn't kill me. At least I have a chance to live. My words only made the sadness worse, but I shrug it off and focus on the task at hand. An older man enters the kitchen and immediately places a kiss against Juliana's cheeks, the former Alpha and Damon's father. "Hello." He greets me just as kindly as his mate did. "I'm Jaden. You must be the girl my lovely mate told me about." I bowed low for him and tried to hide the jealousy in my eyes as I watched him and Juliana be so sweet to each other. Mates. This is how mates should be to each other. They were in each other's embrace, whispering sweet nothings to each other, absolutely captivated in their mate's presence. Not wanting to intrude, I give them privacy and quietly step out of the kitchen without interrupting their sweet moment. Watching them like that, It made me think of Damon. Damon and how it would feel like to be kissed and loved by him. No. Wait, what am I even thinking? That's not possible. He has made it clear I am his servant and nothing else. You like him, Molly teased, making me blush. You do. Have you fallen for our mate? I let out a huff and prepared to refute her when I accidentally stepped on a slippery part of the floor and I lost my balance, the world tilting sideways as I felt myself fall. My eyes fluttered close, preparing for the hard impact of the floor, but instead, a pair of strong arms caught me and pulled me against a solid chest. I instantly knew who it was. Damon. It's him. He's here and he's holding me. And I hate how he felt so good. But nothing, never in a million years, could have prepared me for what happened next. Damon stood before me, his piercing gaze burning into mine. The tension between us crackled like a storm ready to break. His jaw was clenched, his breaths uneven, as if he were waging a war within himself. It seems he loses that war. Because his grip is firm, his warmth seeped into me as his hands settled on my waist. My breath catches as I see his eyes darken, locked completely with mine as something dangerous went through him. You should be more careful, he growled, his voice rough, filled with frustration. I swallowed hard, suddenly aware of how close we were. My hands rested against his chest, feeling the steady thrum of his heartbeat beneath my fingertips. Our chests are flushed against the other, feeling the shiver and frantic beat of our hearts. And then, in one swift motion, he closed the already small distance between us, and his lips found mine. His lips are warm and demanding and fierce, sending a jolt of electricity through my body like no other. It wasn't gentle. No. It was filled with something unspoken and wild. Something he had been fighting, something he was ready to unleash this very moment. A gasp leaves my slip, but he swallows it greedily with his mouth, deepening the kiss as one hand slid up my back, fingers threading through my hair. My knees nearly buckle, but he holds me steadily against him, pressing us even closer together. His mouth moved over mine with raw hunger. This kiss, I never felt like this before, like I was something to be devoured, possessed. For a moment, I forgot everything, the pain, the rejection, the fear. Heat coiled deep within me, my body responding to him in ways I didn't understand nor did I care to. All that mattered was him, this feeling, and us. Only us, and I never wanted it to stop, sure ending myself to him fully. And just as quickly as it began, Damon suddenly pulls away, his breath uneven. I was shaking, unable to contain my want for him and my fear of him leaving me once more, because that's what he will do. He will probably leave me for the political marriage, for someone beautiful, someone better, someone with a strong family and an equally strong title. I am nothing. And as he looked at me as if I was nothing. Damon's POV. Why did you stop me? I growled at my wolf after leaving the dungeon and failing to reject my mate. I could have rejected her, and this will all be done by now. He growled back at me with equal anger. Stop it. That's our mate you're talking about. Don't you remember how long we've waited for her? And you just want to reject her? Just like that? I will not disrespect my mate. I won't let you. She's a rogue, I reiterated, forcing him to remember my dead sister. How can we be mated to a rogue? Didn't you see her? She's different from other rogues. He paused as if utterly horrified over something. She was terrified. She was so scared. What could have made her look like that? Angry as I was of him, I couldn't help but agree. He was right. She wasn't like other rogues. She didn't act feral and bloodthirsty like the rogues that had invaded our lands years ago. She was so scared and broken, like she was expecting the worst of me. But it didn't matter. Nothing will change what she was. She's a rogue, and she will get the worst of me. I will never accept her. Before I could argue further, my beta Charles catches up with me, his ever-sharp and observant eyes assessing me. How are you holding up? I scoffed bitterly, walking much faster to get away from the dungeons, from her even more. How do you think, Charles? You of all people know how much I've wanted a mate. After waiting 30 damn years for a mate, the moon goddess decided to curse me with a rogue. It's a cruel joke. I lost my sister from rogues, and now I'm being forced into a relationship with my greatest enemy. Charles didn't immediately respond. Instead, he crossed his arms and regarded me carefully. Damon, there's something you should know. I furrowed my eyebrows. What? He hesitates for a moment, but then lets out a defeated sigh. While the pack doctor was treating her for poison, they found something disturbing. Scars. A lot of them. And they weren't from battle. They were from abuse. My entire body went incredibly still. I swear the ability to breathe leaves me along with all the air in my lungs. She looked abused, Damon. She's malnourished. She's filthy despite looking like she didn't run that far. She's healing at least 20 other bruises, too. Did you see her wrists? She was grabbed, manhandled. Charles continued without waiting for me to say something, his voice grim. And in the dungeon, she didn't act like a rogue trying to infiltrate our pack. She looked like someone who was running from something, or someone. A furious snarl erupted from my wolf before I could stop it, and I started pacing from panic and rage. Let her out. My wolf's voice rumbled in my mind, full of rage. Now. I shut my eyes and took a deep breath, trying to control my emotions. Get her out of the dungeons, Charles, I find myself saying, and it was me. Not my wolf. It was me who was showing such care for her. Have her brought to the house, keep her safe within my roof, say she is a new servant, but make sure she's taken care of. Make sure no one touches her. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm saying, but I do it anyway. Before Charles could respond, a sharp mind link from my parents cut through my thoughts. I gritted my teeth, already knowing what this was about. They know. They know about her. Meet us at the study, and now. I'm given no chance to speak or argue, called upon like a child as I dismissed Charles and made my way to the house. When I walked in, they didn't even let me sit down before they started talking. How could you reject your own mate? My father quickly questions. My mother is quick to add to this. You found her. After all this time, you found her and you tried to reject her? Damon, how could you? I stiffened, crossing my arms over my chest. She's a rogue. My father's eyes hardened. She's still your fated mate, regardless of where she comes from. You expect me to accept a rogue as my Luna after everything they've done to us? To her? I barely choked out the last word, my sister's face flashing in my mind. My father's expression darkened. We feel your pain more than anyone. We lost a child, Damon. We lost our baby girl, my mother, all but choked out as well. But the moon goddess works in mysterious ways and you cannot refuse her gift. As my father says this, he looks towards my mother before looking back at me. You're 30, Damon. You can't put this off forever. You can't keep pushing this away, giving yourself reasons to escape. I won't be forced into a bond, I snapped. Not with her. Not with anyone. A rogue. My mage is a rogue. Evil. Monsters. They killed my sister. And on top of that, she's a weak Omega. It is insulting to me and to the pack to take her as my mate. I'm not a child anymore. I'm an alpha and you cannot control me. I tell my parents, glowering at them, I refuse to accept her as a mate, and that's final. With that, I turned away and headed to meet Charles in the storage room. She was shuddering with fright. I look at her and it is hard to see that she is a rogue. She's pitiful. Someone has made her like this. But I fight myself not to let the bond control me, that I am stronger than the bond. And then she surprised me by begging me to reject her. Despite everything I have said and done, I cannot do it. I simply can't. I did not have the strength or the will to do so, and it angers me. It angers me so much that she wants me to reject her. Why? Why? Outraged, I grabbed with a little more force than I should have, but I was so distraught that she didn't want me, that she wanted me to reject her just as much as I did. Didn't she see that I was trying to protect her? Didn't she see how I've taken her out of the dungeon? Yet she wants nothing to do with me? Out of my mind, with pain and anger, I headed to my room. But there was no solace or peace, for my wolf was relentless and restless for his mate. I paced. I pulled at my hair. I nearly clawed through my face, but my wolf will not leave me alone. On and on he went. You're letting your anger blind you, he tells me. You've waited for her for so long, and how dare you abandon her? How dare you? She's in pain. She's hurt. You hurt her. Enough. I shot back. No, you think ignoring this will make things easier? He growled, absolutely furious with me. Fine, try. But you'll only destroy yourself in the process. The bond will win. I will let it win. Frustration boiled in my veins. I needed to hit something, to train until my body ached enough to drown out my thoughts. The walk to the training grounds is quick, and I tried not to stop. But I still do, noticing that she is in the kitchen. I watched her almost obsessively. The way she moved, the way she spoke to my mother, the way she put her head down, it was so unlike a rogue, but a rogue nonetheless. I shouldn't forget that. She was beautiful. Underneath all that pain, she looked perfect. For me. Ugh, no. The bond, it's pulling me to her. With a quiet growl, I turned toward the door, ready to head to the training grounds, when suddenly, a small figure stumbled and nearly fell. Immediately, I reached for her, my hands touching her, feeling the warmth, the delicious feeling or her. I pulled her closer, a weakness I couldn't stop. My wolf saw the opportunity and seized it. Before I could react, my head dipped. My lips crashed against hers. A bolt of electricity shot through me, igniting every nerve in my body. She let out a soft gasp, her hands clenching my shirt, and it nearly undid me. Damn it all. I wanted more. I wanted to lose myself in her, to forget the hatred, the past, the war raging inside me. I wanted her and only her. She's mine, my mate, my fate. But then I felt it, her trembling. She was afraid of me. A sharp pain shot through my chest. I wrenched myself away from her, breathing hard. She stumbled back, clutching her arms, her lips slightly parted in shock. "I am sorry," she whispered before turning and fleeing. Damn it, I was furious, unable to even control myself because of him. No mate can resist the bond. My wolf rumbled smugly. "I will make sure you don't do anything unforgivable to her." I scowled, but felt myself smirk coldly, an idea forming in my head. Fine. If I can't reject her, then I'll make sure she rejects me. I stood there, breathless, confused as my lips tingle, and the heat unlike any other burns within me. My heart is hammering against my ribs. What just happened? How did that just happen? I lowered my head, feeling utterly lost as I muttered a pathetic apology, seeing the look of absolute disgust on his face, right after he kissed me no less before walking away. I tried to hide the look of disappointment and keep it locked within my heart. Like a cornered animal, I ran back to the kitchen. My heart was still hammering in my chest, my lips tingling from the kiss that shouldn't have happened. I pressed trembling fingers to my mouth, as if trying to erase the sensation of his lips on mine, but it was useless. The heat of the moment lingered, scorching my skin from the inside out. He lingered. He latched onto my thoughts unrelentingly. Molly was practically bouncing in my mind, completely overjoyed. "See? I told you. He wants us." I groaned and shook my head. "No, you're wrong. That wasn't want, Molly. That was instinct. The mate bond. That wasn't him." "Oh, please," she scoffed. "Did you not see the way he reacted?" I saw exactly how he reacted. He was disgusted. He hated it. But Molly won't be able to accept that, too engrossed in him. And I tried to ignore her, but the memory flashed through my mind, the way Damon had pulled back, his breath ragged, his eyes stormy with something dark and unreadable. He looked hungry for me. He looked like he wanted more. And then there was his size. Large, thick, and engorged. Rock hard, too. Heat surged up my neck, and I quickly shut off our mind link before Molly could say something even more outrageous. I forced myself to focus on the task at hand, finishing up the last dish for dinner. If I let myself get lost in thoughts of Damon, I'd never survive being his servant. Once all the food was prepared, I started setting the table in the grand dining hall. Out of habit, I placed only 3 sets of tableware, for Alpha Jaden, Luna Juliana, and Damon. Omegas, much less rogues, weren't allowed to eat at the same table as high-ranking wolves, and after years of serving others, of serving my family that put me in my place constantly, it was second nature to me. I can never eat with them. I can only serve them. That's the rule. And breaking that rule can only resort to a punishment that will lead to the worst circumstance. But as I set down the last plate, Luna Juliana's gentle voice stopped me. "Why haven't you set a place for yourself?" I froze, blinking in confusion. I'm sorry, but Omegas don't eat with Alphas, Luna. It would be disrespectful." She frowned, shaking her head. "That's not how things work here. You live under this roof, and you prepared this meal. You'll eat with us. No buts." Before I could protest, for I really wanted to protest, she reached for another plate and set a place for me at the table, right next to Damon. Oh, no, he's not gonna like that. And after that kiss, I don't think I like it either. Panic tightened my throat. I instinctively glanced at him, expecting to see fury in his eyes. But he wasn't angry. He just sat there, silent, his gaze locked onto me. And it was intense. It reminded me of the kiss. It reminded me of his need and hunger for me. I quickly looked away, my pulse racing. Dinner had turned awkward, and if I'm being honest, it was tormenting me. Not because the food was bad. Far from it. It was the best meal I had ever had, and the former Luna and Alpha only kept feeding me with more and more food. But I could feel him. I could smell him, his intoxicating and enticing scent all over me. His presence was overwhelming, suffocating. Every time I tried to focus on eating, my skin prickled with awareness, as if his eyes were still on me. I dared to glance up. He was staring, not speaking, not eating, just watching me. Heat pooled in my stomach, and my mind betrayed me, drifting into forbidden thoughts. What would it feel like if he touched me? If he pressed me against the table and... I choked, quickly dropping my head. Goddess, what was wrong with me? And why did Damon look as though he knows exactly what I'm thinking? I forced myself to take a bite of food, desperate to focus on anything but the growing ache in my body. But Damon was sitting right next to me, almost close enough to touch. Every time I glanced up, his eyes burned into mine, and I swore I saw something lurking beneath the icy walls he kept around himself. I clenched my fists in my lap. If he hated me so much, why couldn't he stop looking at me? Why couldn't he simply banish me to my rooms like he should have done? The tension in the air was unbearable, thick with something I didn't quite understand. Even Alpha Jaden and Luna Juliana seemed to notice, exchanging a glance, but neither of them said anything. My hands were clammy as I picked at my food. I had spent my life learning how to move unseen, how to avoid drawing attention, but with Damon, it was impossible. It was as if the bond forced him to acknowledge my existence, even when he didn't want to. And Goddess help me, part of me wanted that acknowledgement, even if it was drenched in hostility. I wanted him, my body wanted him, my soul craved him. Just when I thought I could finally escape his suffocating presence, Alpha Jaden turned to me with a gentle smile. I know you've been through a lot, but I wanted to ask, would you like to officially join our pack? Not just as a worker, but as one of us? He said, his voice warm, his tone soft and gentle. My heart stopped. For a moment I could hardly breathe. Join this pack, be safe, be able to tell them the truth. I had spent years living in fear, be treated like nothing more than a tool for others to use and punish. And now I was being offered a place where I could actually belong. Tears pricked my eyes, feeling happy and elated. I would love to. I won't allow it. Damon's cold voice sliced through my chest like a blade. It won't happen. Not while I am the alpha of this pack. Silence fell over the room. I turned to him, my heart shattering into 1,000 pieces. How can he do this? I'm his mate. He doesn't even have to accept me as his name. He just has to accept me as a servant. And he can't even do that? His face was emotionless, his jaw tight, his golden eyes unreadable. My voice barely came out. Why? What did I do? Why do you hate me? He didn't answer. He simply pushed back his chair and stood. Without another word, he left the room, leaving behind nothing but a suffocating silence and the hollow ache in my chest. I swallowed hard, forcing myself to keep my expression neutral. I should have expected this. I should have known. I shouldn't have hoped as usual. But some foolish, desperate part of me had hoped, dreamed. Luna Juliana reached over, squeezing my hand gently. Give him time, she murmured. He's not as heartless as he wants you to believe. I nodded stiffly, but deep down I wasn't sure I believed her. Damon. I gritted my teeth in fury and frustration. She was a lowly Omega rogue and had no business with eating with an alpha. I was furious at my parents for asking her to join us. It felt like my alpha title was being mocked. Never had it been heard or seen for an Omega to have dinner with an alpha. This was the first, and if I didn't act fast, it would be a regular thing. While I grumbled internally, my wolf seemed to be pleased by this, and he couldn't content his joy as he beamed with satisfaction. It was infuriating. She looks so graceful. Just look at her, he whispered, admiring the way she lowered her head. Her head is supposed to be bent. She's nothing but a rogue. I snapped at him. I pushed thoughts of her out of my mind as I focused on my food. But it wasn't for long. I couldn't help but take slight notice of her movements, the way her hand moved from the food to her mouth. My throat tightened involuntarily. I was breathing heavily, watching with bated breath. She began chewing the food carefully, and swallowed. It was damn hot, and my throat went dry all of a sudden. I couldn't stop staring now. Just when I thought I had had enough, I caught a whiff of her scent, and I sucked in a breath hastily. It was sweet, intoxicating, and alluring. I stared at her. Her cheeks flushed immediately, and her breathing turned uneven as she tried to keep a normal face, but I knew what was going through her mind immediately. She was thinking about me. Damn, it's so hot. My wolf hollered with pleasure. Her desire was so evident, and it got me heated up, made my body feel alive. I had a strong urge to claim her right there, ignoring the presence of my quiet parents. I used all my strength to resist the urge. It was almost impossible, but I managed. I directed all my attention to the food, my frustrations fueling my resolve to get her out of my mind. After dinner, Mom and Dad left while I remained seated as she packed the dishes. I headed into the kitchen a few minutes after she had left. "How dare a rogue like you have such thoughts about me?" I sneered as I walked into the kitchen, my menacing voice sending shivers down her spine as she turned around slowly with fear etched all over her. I stepped close to her, staring at her intently with disgust in my eyes. "Do you think you're worthy of having such thoughts about me? Have you forgotten that you're nothing but a rogue, a feral beast roaming the forests?" I barked, and she began trembling in fear. She had dropped the dishes, and she had her eyes glued to the ground, coiling back with great fear. "Do not treat her this way. She is our mate." My wolf roared in anger, but I ignored him. I wanted to show my displeasure, make it known that she disgusted me to the core, and not even the mate bond can change my heart. "Have you forgotten that you're an outcast from your park? You must have been banished, and the only reason you're not dead is because I'm merciful, not because of my parents, not because of the damned mate bond. It's me." I growled, and she continued shaking in silence, unable to say anything. "You..." I felt a tug in my heart, and I couldn't help but take notice of how she shivered, the way she had her head bowed and just sobbed silently. I knew she was crying, and it made my heart quiver. The next words I wanted to say were stuck in my throat, and yet no matter how hard I tried, words failed to come out. I was dumbfounded for the first time in my life. Was I really becoming soft for this rogue? Why was she looking so fragile in my heart? What the fuck was this? Was her tears really affecting me? I glared at her for a second, and without a word, I turned around and exited the kitchen, frustration and anger evident as I headed to my room. I decided to head to bed. I didn't want to think about her or anything that had happened tonight, and after a bath, I jumped in bed. A few hours later, and I was still tossing around on my bed. I couldn't sleep. All I could think about was Alysia, and images of her flushed face kept in my head. The way she stared at me made my body heat up instantly, and I cursed under my breath as I rolled out of bed. "Fuck!" I swore as I peeled my clothes off roughly. My breathing was hitched, and I stepped under the cold shower, groaning for a moment as I tried to focus on anything but the boner I had. The cold water splashed on my body, but it did nothing to quench the raging fire inside of me. I felt myself burning up, and with a scowl. My heart began to beat faster, pounding in my chest, and my breath came in short, sharp gasps. "Damn, Alysia," I groaned. The little image I pictured in my head drove me to the edge. I was getting closer and closer to my release. "Oh, fuck. Alysia. Alysia." I gasped as the pleasure built. I felt myself letting go, surrendering to the moment, and allowing myself to be swept away by the sensations. Alysia. After that humiliating dinner, I hadn't seen Alpha Damon for days. Not that I was curious, though. He's away for business. It's something he does a lot, so you don't have to be worried about him. I could remember the Luna saying, and it almost made me laugh and cry at the same time. Why would I be worried that my mate who despised me to the core was away? Him being away made this place feel less terrifying. We both know that's not true. You're worried about him. Molly mumbled, and I ignored her because there was nothing I could say to convince her otherwise, because she was overly curious about him. She thought about him all the time and bugged me with words like, "mate this, mate that." I pushed thoughts of Alpha Damon out of my mind and focused on what I was doing. Since he left, I began working in the kitchen, and it was nothing but magnificent. I had a new friend, Amanda, who was the mate of the beta, and she was like my guardian angel, sent to guard and direct me all the time. She worked in the kitchen too and had been teaching me everything I needed to know about herbs, spices, and how they should be used. She always had a broad smile on her face, even when I made mistakes, and patiently corrected me. I had never met anyone like her. "That's not a mushroom, you see, they're different," she began explaining, but I zoned out, astonished because she didn't mock me for mistaking a black truffle for a mushroom. Rather, she corrected me kindly. This was neither her second nor third time correcting me today. I remembered my old pack and how I'd be beaten for committing even smaller mistakes. I felt safe here. For the first time in my life, things had changed. It felt cozy, like I was accepted, and I wanted to stay here forever. "You're doing good. You're really a fast learner. I'm impressed," she praised, taking a look at what I had just cut. My cheeks heated up at this compliment, and I felt my stomach churning with excitement. It felt so good to be complimented. I felt refreshed and hopeful. I was learning, I had the opportunity to, and I was getting praised, something that had never happened before. The excitement in my stomach was too much to contain. Back in the house, no matter how hard I tried, Father and Sarah would never say anything kind to me. Rather, they complained more than the last time, making it evident I was a burden to them. Day in and out, I had walked tirelessly to please them, but every meal I made had one flaw or the other. I felt my heart plummet at the thought of them. Did they notice I was gone? Were they searching for me? Were they happy that I was gone? These questions plagued my mind, and I exhaled sadly, thinking deeply about the family and life I'd left behind. "Are you okay? Is there any problem?" she asked with concern visible in her eyes. She must have noticed the change in the air, and my heart raced. No one had ever been concerned about me. Whether I was happy, sad, or devastated, nobody cared. "I'm fine." She didn't look convinced. "Alysia, you can talk to me." "Really, I'm okay," I continued, and she opened her mouth to protest, but Martha walked inside. "Come with me, Amanda. I need you to run an errand," Martha announced as she walked away, but Amanda stayed for a few seconds, staring at me with worry. "Go, I'm fine," I mouthed, and reluctantly she left, making me smile broadly. Once alone, I pushed every distraction out of my mind and focused on the lunch I was making. Cooking was my solace, and I found great joy and peace in it. Cooking was a way of immersing myself into something beautiful, something that would leave people smiling with unsatisfied appetites. This was more than just cooking. It was a delicate moment of peace where I didn't have to worry about being mocked or punished. I began to hum to myself as I chopped a few vegetables. I cut everything just the way I had been taught and placed them into a large pot. I smiled softly as I stared at it. I was good at something. I wasn't completely useless. I grabbed a jar of seasoning when the air suddenly changed. I began to feel uneasy as I felt a pair of eyes watching, the heat burning my skin. A familiar scent wafted around the house and my stomach tightened. I turned around swiftly. He was back. Alpha Damon. While Molly jumped with excitement, I took notice of him. He was resting on the pillar, standing very close to the door. He looked sinfully hot. I felt my whole body ignite with desire as I stared at him. He looked different. His face looked sharper and hotter than before. His hair was slightly longer, but it made him more attractive. He had his sleeves rolled up with his muscles bulging, and he had this powerful aura surrounding him. He looked more compelling than ever. I gulped saliva, unable to take my eyes off this man who looked like a new creature. I was engrossed in his features. I caught a hold of myself immediately, remembering his taunts that night in the kitchen. I began to quiver. Sweat broke out on my forehead, and the jar almost fell out of my trembling hands. I clasped my second hand to my sides, grabbing a fistful of clothes in my hand. My legs were wobbling, and my gaze was plastered to the ground, like unable to imagine what was going to happen, and he spoke. His voice was icy, it lacked warmth, and was laced with impatience. "I want seared salmon with black truffle sauce. Now!" I almost jumped. The hairs on my neck were standing. Does he always have to sound this intimidating and ruthless? Alysia. I lowered my head immediately. My fingers twisted together as I wondered how I make the food without anyone being around to help. I stared blankly for a while, my heart fluttering as I tried to come up with something, but I knew I dared not reject. He stood there, watching me fret, and after a while he sneered. "If it's this difficult to make such a simple dish, then you don't deserve to be here. You can go back to the forest where you belong. Years of eating raw meat must have tampered with your senses." His words stung deeply, and I swallowed the lump in my throat. He walked over to a tall shelf. He stretched out his hand and yanked out a recipe book. The book hit the cabinet with a loud thud. "That's a recipe book. Even a pig can understand it, so you have no excuse again. Make me seared salmon," he replied, his low tone even more intimidating as he walked out. With shaky hands, I grabbed the book. I flipped it open, and I stared at the words. I couldn't read. I couldn't pronounce even a single sound, and I began sweating all over. "Tell him you can't read. I'm sure they'll understand," Molly suggested, and I pressed my teeth into my lips. I was under a lot of pressure as I held on to the book tightly. I dared not say a word about this to him. He could cast me out if he found out. He'd know I'm useless, and he would throw me back into the forest. I couldn't go to anyone for help. Marty, Amanda, and the Luna were the only people I knew, and none of them were in sight. I kept trembling as the time passed by, my heart racing as I just stared at the letters, unable to piece them together into words. "Is my food ready?" Alpha Damon's voice was filled with irritation as he walked into the kitchen, his eyes blazing with fury. I gripped the book tightly as I flinched. My palms were pale white, my body went stiff as I felt my eyes water. The words were so heavy in my throat, but I had to say them. Alpha Damon's anger kept rising and the heat in the air tripled. "I can't make it." I stuttered after a long struggle, and that moment images of my past flashed in my heart. Every mistake and punishment I had committed and received right from after I turned 8 down to last month played in my mind. The brutal beatings, the harsh pains that took weeks to heal, some of which were just healing now. I coiled back in fear subconsciously, bracing myself for the inevitable pain because it was obvious I'd get punished for my mistakes. I couldn't stop whimpering. "What is happening?" Luna Juliana's tiny voice rang out in the doorway, making everywhere go silent. Damon POV. After the night I had lost control in the shower, I was covered in shame at the realization of what I had done. I couldn't believe I could stoop so low to the level of wanking because of an omega. I decided to get away from her, giving myself space so I could rid myself of this crazy hold she had over me. I decided to take a 2-week border patrol mission. During my mission, I found my mind drifting back to her, wondering what she was doing, whether she was having dinner with my parents. Whenever I had thoughts like this, memories that night 10 years ago always surfaced. My sister laying in a pool of her own blood, scars all over her body from different rogues. Her eyes filled with despair, empty and hollow, it made my blood boil, and every thought of Alysia disappeared. All I felt was pure fury for rogues. Most times I'd punch the walls and try to quench the burning pain inside my chest, but nothing was enough. Nothing could wipe the memory away. Not even the passing tears could make the memory fade. It was just like yesterday. Her image was as clear as daylight in my mind. Today was one of those days, and I exhaled deeply, deciding to push those thoughts off of my heart, warning myself and majorly my wolf to focus on the border patrol and not let the mate bond get in the way. He tried to portray, and I shut him out completely. I had a lot on my mind to deal with. No description matches hers. Alpha. No pack is searching for her. A guard announced, and I was confused. We were both looking at the records of missing wolves, and no pack had reported any missing wolf whose identity matched hers. It got me wondering if she had been a rogue for so long. "No, I don't think so," I mumbled to myself. But she didn't look like one, so there was something shady about it. I needed to return to the pack to question her. She has a lot of answers to spill about her true identity. "Prepare the horse. I'll be returning to the pack now," I announced, and the guard stared at me in confusion. "Alpha, but you have 3 days and the Gamma is away." I said to prepare the horse. "Yes, Alpha." He replied immediately, lowering his head before he quickly headed out. He knew not to anger me. He returned after 10 minutes, and without a word I left, galloping my way towards the pack house with a lot of questions. I arrived at the house after 2 hours of riding. Initially, it'd take 3 hours to get to the pack, but something made me speed up, maybe my curiosity about where she was from. I jumped down my horse, flinging the reins to the stable boy as I walked away. I passed by the kitchen, unable to tell if it was in my own accord of that of my wolf. I caught a whiff of Alysia in the air, and it made me look into the kitchen. She had just finished chopping a few vegetables, and she was humming to herself. She looked happy, radiant, and very beautiful. Her expression was relaxed and peaceful. I found myself listening to her song, noting how melodious her voice sounded. I rested on the doorway, unable to take my eyes away from her. My heart was fluttering with excitement, and I just watched her, my lips curling up into a smile. She turned around, noticing my presence, and her face went pale white. Her eyes filled with fear as she shrank back in fear. Sweat began to form on her forehead as she began to tremble, her hand shaking unsteadily while her second hand was holding onto her clothes tightly. Was I really terrifying? I asked myself this question, and much to my astonishment, I felt her head move slightly and my eyes squinted as my fury increased. I want seared salmon with black truffle sauce now, I ordered impatiently, and she stared at me blankly. I sneered with fury because she wasn't moving, just trembling in fear, and after a caustic remark, I walked over to the shelf and pulled out a recipe book. That's a recipe book. Even a pig can understand it, so you have no excuse again. Make me seared salmon. I ordered and walked out, my heart thumping very fast, as a part of me wanted to look back, but I composed myself. I went to my room to have my bath, and there was no lying when I say it was one of the fastest baths. I just let the water cascade down my body and lather my body with soap, scrubbing furiously as her terrified face kept appearing in my head. I wore my clothes immediately and strode down to the kitchen. Leave Maid alone, she's terrified. My wolf pleaded, but I just had a small smirk on my face. It disappeared the moment I entered the kitchen to see her standing there without doing anything. Is my food ready? I barked and she trembled. She was drenched in sweat and her eyes were pale. I can't make it. She stuttered for a long time and I glared at her. Much to my shock, she shrank back in fear, wrapping a hand around herself as she feared I was going to hit her. What is happening? Mom's voice rang out at the doorway. Alysia. Luna Juliana walked toward me with a huge frown on her face. She glared at Alpha Damon with disdain and grabbed my hand. Immediately she reached my side. Did he hurt you? She asked, her voice filled with rage, and I shook my head vigorously almost immediately. I didn't, he yelled, and she ignored him. Talk to me, Alysia. Did he hurt you? I know he hurt you. You don't need to be afraid. Tell me everything. She pressed on, and I kept shaking my head. No, nothing. Talk to me, Alysia. Tell me everything that happened. She ordered harshly, and I exhaled deeply. I shut my eyes tightly before I opened them. I dared not glance at Damon as I began to speak, my voice shaking. He asked me to make a meal. My voice broke, and she patted my back. Talk to me, she urged. He gave me the recipe book, but I felt tears brim in my eyes as my hands trembled. I was filled with sweat, and he stared at me with a frown. I can't read. In my old pack, those who are unable to fulfill a task would receive severe punishments. He didn't do anything to me. I was still speaking when she pulled me into her warm embrace. I was stunned for a moment, and I stayed still. To my astonishment, she began patting my back slowly. This is the Crescent Moon Pack, honey. No one would ever treat you in such a way. We are different. She whispered softly, and I felt tears streaming down my cheeks. My heart was racing heavily, and all I could feel was pure maternal love, something I had never felt before. This ceased how it felt to have a mother, a confidant. I couldn't believe Aluna was speaking to me this way and defending me, something that would never happen in my old pack. Our pack is different. Everybody has the right to education. Nobody is going to hinder you from learning, and I promise to get you a tutor who will teach you how to read and write. She offered, and my eyes widened in shock. My lips quivered as my eyes dilated for a moment. My head shook slightly as I tried to understand if it was real, but it was. She was staring at me with so much sincerity in her eyes. You'll get education, dear. This pack is different, and we don't treat our people like trash. She assured me, and I nodded vigorously, unable to wipe off the tears that were streaming down my cheeks. My heart flustered. I was a part of her people. She made my heart quiver, and all I felt was the presence of a genuine mother who was concerned about me, who cared about my well-being and was willing to stand up for me against her own son. She was even more defensive than my mother. It weakened my knees as I just basked in her warmth. I felt small and weak. I could finally be weak without expecting any form of oppression. "You can continue with what you were doing," she suggested, and I nodded. "Thank you so much. I'm so grateful for this privilege. Words can't describe how." She cut me off with a small hug and let go after a few seconds. She walked away with Alpha Damon, who didn't say a word to me. "The Luna is so nice. She's one of the most amazing people in the world," Molly mumbled, and I couldn't agree more. It felt like she was my real mother. I felt sparks and felt connected to her in every way. There was this softness in her eye and this great sensation that erupts whenever I'm around her. I pointed out, and Molly wagged her tail happily. "She can become our mother if you want," Molly suggested, and I felt my eyes heighten as I paused. I was about to cover the pit. "Is that even possible?" I demanded. "If you get married to Damon, she's going to be our mother automatically." I burst into laughter immediately. She said this because my chances of becoming a rogue later was higher than being with Damon. "Are you crazy? Is this some joke? Get married to Damon, the man who despises me, who hates me and would want nothing to do with me? Damon would never accept me," I reminded. "Don't be too biased. He isn't as bad as he looks. He hasn't rejected you, remember? It means there's still a chance. Don't just throw all hope away," she advised, and I scoffed. "It's high time you accept things and stop thinking about fantasies that'll never happen. Reality is different. You can dream all you want from now till an eternity, but it wouldn't change the fact that he hates me and he doesn't want me. The only reason he hasn't rejected me could be because of his parents, or he's not had the time. Stop giving yourself false hope." I muttered, my voice reducing drastically as it felt like several spines were being driven into my heart. It hurt to say these words about my mate, and it hurt more to be hated by everyone, except for Luna and a few people. "Don't forget our powers. Even if we don't have anything to offer, our powers are more than enough," she suggested, and I exhaled. It was a heavy topic for me. I don't have the power now. I had the abilities to control elements. It was insane, but this was a secret I had kept from everyone. Although it had been lost for a while, I hoped to get it back soon. "If we're able to restore our power very soon, then maybe you could be of help to him. You could help him with this pack," Molly suggested. "Alysia." I completed the ritual to become a member of the pack in front of Alpha Jade and Luna Juliana. My excitement knew no bounds. I was finally a member of the Crescent Moon Pack. Luna, Amanda. I mind-linked them, checking to know if I was really a part of them, because this was a big dream and it seemed too good to be true. "Alysia." Both of them replied and chuckled, and my smile increased. My heart pounded even harder as I had the urge to jump around and hug everyone who came my way. "Molly, we are a part of them. I can't believe this," I said to Molly, who couldn't stop wagging her tail in excitement. "Thank you so much." I bowed my head before the Alpha and Luna pulled me over, offering a big smile. "Congratulations, dear." She hugged me, and I held on firmly, ecstasy coursing through my veins. "You don't have to work in the kitchen today," she instructed, and my eyes widened. "Why? I've arranged for a tutor for you. Go to the study room and you'll find your tutor there," she replied, and I began to sweat immediately. Goosebumps appeared all over me at the thought of learning. I wanted to learn, but I was nervous as hell. What if I couldn't? What if I disappointed her? Crazy questions like this made my anxiousness increase, and she tapped me. "Go, you'll do well," she added like she could read my thoughts, and I nodded. "Thank you," I muttered before walking out. I headed to the study room, and pushing the door open, I found it empty. I was fidgeting as I stood at one side. There was a desk and 2 chairs at one corner with a bookshelf. I stared at the books, unable to pronounce any word. My stomach lurched, and I shut my eyes tightly. This was my opportunity to learn. Luna was kind enough to give me this chance, and now it's up to me to not disappoint her. I will try my best and make sure I don't fail her. I opened my eyes, and the door suddenly flung open. My heartbeat increased as I wondered who my tutor would be, and my eyes almost popped out when Alpha Damon walked inside. I began to shake on the spot. I went stiff for a moment, and he walked inside, glaring at me. Uh, the Luna asked me to be here. I said instinctively, unable to understand if the Luna had given me the wrong directions or if I had made a mistake. I know, he snapped as he sat down and pulled a book out of the shelf, and my wobbling legs almost gave way. He was my tutor. You don't have to do this. You can leave if you don't want to. I don't want to trouble you, please, I pleaded, my voice going very low, and he glared at me without a word. Sit. He ordered coldly, and I swallowed hard as I forced my legs to move to the vacant seat. I couldn't understand why he agreed to tutor me if he hated me. He opened the book and began teaching the basics, starting with 2-lettered words, and nervously, I followed. He pronounced them countless times, and nervously, I just listened. Pronounce it, he instructed, and I gulped down saliva. I stared at the words for a moment. Eat. My voice started out well and reduced drastically as I began to pronounce the words. My voice faltered and became more hesitant to say anything. Louder, he warned. A frown spread across his face, and I began to breathe heavily, my nervousness increasing. I began to pronounce wrongly. In my anxiety, I had completely forgotten the simplest pronunciation. Is this a joke? He barked, and I bit my lips, trying to hold back tears. My fears had peaked, and I played with my hands, trying very hard not to burst into tears. Are you even ready to learn? He thundered, and this time I broke into tears, sobbing softly as his words broke through my defenses. I couldn't do it. I was incompetent, and Luna Juliana would be so disappointed in me. He exhaled deeply and turned to me slightly. Stop crying. You look horrible. His words made me cry harder, and I began to sob loudly. My eyes were blurry, and all I could hear in my ears were Sarah and Dad's taunting voice, saying I was good for nothing, incompetent and useless. I'd never be able to do anything. I was still sobbing when his strong hand grabbed my arm and pulled me out of the chair swiftly. I collided with his hard chest, and his large hands rested on my small back. He began patting down slowly, his hands soothing away my anxiety. He lifted my chin up a little, and with the softest voice he whispered, That's enough. Stop crying. He let go of my chin and pressed it softly to his chest. His scent made their way to my nostrils, assaulting my body dangerously. His firm muscles vibrated slightly. His embrace was warm, and I felt my heartbeat increase rapidly. My throat went dry suddenly, and all I could feel was the warmth radiating from the body of my dangerously sexy mate. The bond thrived within us, and it felt like torture, only that this was the sweetest type of torture. My breathing was hitched, and I clung to him tightly, unable to let go. My tears dampened his white shirt. I noticed something burning beneath me, an erect, hard shape pressing to my thighs, and my pulse hammered inside my ears. He must have noticed it too, because he pushed me away abruptly. I lifted my head up slightly, and to my shock, his face was very close, dangerously close that it was inches apart, and our breaths mixed. His gaze was dark, penetrative, and unreadable. Before I could react, he pressed his lips against mine. I melted into the kiss immediately, sparks traveling down my spine as my whole body quaked with the great sensation. Something inside of me was stirred. I responded to the kiss immediately, unable to break away as I parted my lips, letting his long tongue slip inside. Just as he was about to use his tongue, Beta Charles's suddenly rang through the mind link.